welcome to Some Kind of Fun, Season 2, Episode 11. We're some kind of fucked after the election. Is everybody feeling positive?
We're not going to claim that this show is unbiased in their political opinions. We lean pretty far left, and we're pretty fucking mad.
Yeah. Yeah. I am thinking of the Hank Rollins quote of "This is our punk rock time. This is what Joe Strummer trained us for." I don't know if he trained us for winning in 2020 and then losing in 2024.
That seemed weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Claire?
We're just so fucked. What the fuck? Oh my fucking God. We
don't use a beep on this
We
show.
don't.
No.
This would not be the episode for that.
If you're watching with the kids, maybe send them in the other room.
Uh-huh. This is the non-safe for work episode.
Okay, so I follow a lot of political scientists. I'm friends with a couple of them. There's this concept called thermostatic politics, which says that when the voters, they tend to vote out the party in power just as a thermostatic. That's why whoever wins the presidency usually loses in the midterm elections, etc. I have a belief that, and I'm kind of on a soapbox here, but I have a belief that under thermostatic politics, within a few months, the people that voted in this last election against their self-interest will suddenly remember, we hate this fucker. I forgot about this tweet, politics by tweet, and having to listen to all that bullshit. And so my belief is, assuming we have elections, and I do actually have faith that we're going to have elections in 2026, we have a very narrow House. I think we'll take over the House. The Senate is just anti-democratic. We should abolish the Senate. But that being what it is, I think maybe we take over the House and things will be less awful. I do believe that here in Minnesota, we have the Democratic governor. We have a Democratic control of the court. We have Democratic control of the Senate. We have a tie in the House. It probably means that less robust progressive policies pass in the next 2 years, but they can't fuck too much shit up on the local level or on the state level. And one of the things I firmly believe about fascism is it is worse on a local level. So that's my optimistic take.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
If anybody wants optimism.
And we should let everyone know that everyone here associated with the show has agreed to sign on, and we're trying to make some organizing moves in the community. You'll hear more about it as it progresses, but we aren't sitting still and letting the fascists win without a fight. So,
and what you can do in the meantime is you can be supporting those local communities and those local organizations for folks who need it. And we have a ton in Minneapolis who can use your money, can use your volunteering. You might want to utilize them yourselves. And so that is something that you can do on a local level.
And you have a QR code.
I do have a QR code.
Mark's going to put it up on the screen for us.
Yep.
And people will be able to screenshot it and find a list of those organizations.
Yep.
So there you go.
Well, let's get to everybody's favorite segment when we get off of the soapbox and get back onto a different soapbox.
Yeah.
Which shows from the past month did you enjoy? And as always, Paul, you begin.
All right. Well, being front row Paul, I saw the two bands that created the energy around the song Front Row Paul. I saw both the Suburbs and the Shackletons, and they weren't scheduled the same night, so he didn't have to be here. He could have gone to the Suburbs.
Yeah.
I went to both.
You took like the extended play version.
I took exactly. So those were two marvelous shows that I saw last month.
Claire, what about you?
I saw Off With Their Heads, which is one of my very favorite bands, at Cloudland. They were great. It was a fun crowd, boisterous crowd. My jaw felt it the next day. And also,
Spoiler alert.
what?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I know. I was like, all right. And Mary Jam was also playing, and they were
Aren't they?
They were so much fun.
Yes,
And then another band that I was not familiar with called Laugh Track was also playing, and they were great too.
Well, speaking of Mary Jam, on Halloween, I went to Palmer's and I saw Surly Girly and Mary Jam and another band who I'd never heard of before, but Tomboy with two Y's, and they were outstanding. They had really great vocals, and they had a White Stripesy kind of vibe, but I don't know. I really liked them quite a bit. And Surly Girly has a new song called Heroes that came out on Election Day. That is a fantastic song that you should all check out. So that's what I saw that I liked a lot.
Awesome.
Nice.
You know what we should do? We should have some clips. And Claire, do you want to introduce this first clip?
Sure. Oh, we're going to start off with Their Heads.
And Big Salt.
And Poison Ivy and the People.
And when we come back, we will be interviewing the two Wills from Frozen Teens.
Welcome back to Some Kind of Fun. I'm joined here by the two Wills of Frozen Teens.
That's right. Hello. Hey.
So let's start. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Will Simon. I play guitar and sing in Frozen Teens. Currently in a band called Lifestyle Shakes. And yeah, live on the south side here.
Nice.
Have for quite some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Will Olsen, and what was the question? Tell us
Just
about yourself.
A little bit.
Yeah,
A little bit about yourself.
Who are you?
Yeah, in Frozen Teens I played bass. I play guitar most of the time now, and yeah, also been living here in Minneapolis for a while. 20 years, I guess.
What about 20 as well?
Since I moved from St. Paul.
Yeah.
When I was a
So
young man.
how did Frozen Teens start? And then you can lead us up to the at least temporary hiatus you went on for a number of years
Yeah.
to rise like a phoenix from the ashes.
Yes.
There's been a few of those.
Yeah.
We formed in 2009.
2009.
And yeah, I think mine and our drummer Ski, who's not here today with us, we had a band and that kind of blew up, and we were just kind of figuring out what to do next because we knew we wanted to play with each other again, and he had suggested getting together with Will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically how you and I met, was at our first practice.
Yeah.
Pretty
yeah.
much. And yeah, we just kind of took it from there. Took a lot of songs that we had been working on for previous projects that we just kind of carried over.
Okay.
And then a couple new ones as well. And
Okay.
Yeah, we met. I think we did meet at the very first practice. Ski, or the drummer, he lives in Fargo now. He sort of brought us together.
Okay.
And Cortez the Killer, their band, that was like a little bit of the prehistory.
Okay.
And then I had been in a band where a guy moved out of town and we were looking for another guy, and then I was playing with Ski a little bit, but nothing was happening, and I think that's kind of how he convened the band, I would say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were at first practice at a punk house called Shit Biscuit, where we ended up playing a lot. We practiced at a house called the Ass Castle. Yeah, some these punk house names kind of they play off each other. You get the House of the Lord, and then you get the Pork Avenue, and on and on. So
Yes.
yeah, that's where we got our start.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you guys were, from what I read, kind of blowing up a little bit back then. And,
I mean,
or you describe it.
in town, it was I would say it was fairly. Yeah, we were doing pretty well, I'd say, like kind of from the get-go.
Okay.
And yeah, and that sort of continued throughout, being a band. Like, we always played to pretty good crowds here, and when we did go on tour too, I think we always had pretty good crowds out there as well.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, we did a lot of touring pretty quickly in the first couple of years. Yeah, sort of all around, 3-week or 2-week type deals.
one coast or the other.
One coast or
Down
the other.
south a lot.
Down south a lot, yeah. And yeah, we played locally. We were playing like the punk basement circuit all the time, late nights there, and then occasionally we kind of surface from the basements to play the Triple Rock or
Hexagon.
Hexagon,
Definitely
yeah.
the Hexagon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then what was the impetus that brought everything back together now?
Will sent me a text 2 months ago now, and it just said, what are you doing New Year's Eve? And I just texted back, I'm in. I knew exactly what he was asking.
Yeah.
We played our final show New Year's Eve 2014, So it's 10 years this year. And, we had kind of made playing a New Year's Eve show sort of a tradition a little bit for us.
Yeah, there were a number of good ones I remember.
Yeah. And that was, we have a song called New Year.
Yes, we do.
Which is about going to a party on New Year's and waking up with a hangover. And for me, I appreciated us having these New Year's shows because it meant I didn't have to go wander around some party with no purpose other than getting totally fucked up. So instead, we'd play our shows and get totally fucked up there.
Yeah.
But it's
At least
nice.
it gives you something to do with your
Sums it up
hands while
nicely,
you're doing
It's
that.
nice to have a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a half hour out of the night to do something good
Yeah.
with yourself, with your talents.
And how each of you individually get into the music scene? Was it something you've been doing your whole lives?
Yeah, I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota, and I did, when I was a teenager, played in bands up there, and moved here in my early 20s, probably 21, and I didn't really get into the scene right away. Going to shows, and I definitely knew a few people from going from Fargo to Minneapolis to play shows.
Sure.
But I didn't really start playing until maybe a good year or two into living here.
Okay.
Yeah. I grew up like totally obsessed with the Beatles, and it was my mom was a huge Beatles fan. She was had all the records, singles, and these are like the American versions of that early stuff, different track lists, and we had it all on CD, and there's a big book of Beatles sheet music in the house and stuff, and I was just like I still feel that way about the Beatles. I would even say that they're underrated. I started playing guitar when I was pretty, maybe 12 years old or something like that. And started trying to write some songs, had a couple, couple attempts at a band. My first sort of real band, my real first punk band was called Friendly. It was me and two other guys kind of from the neighborhood, and we started venturing in to Minneapolis. We were taking the bus to Extreme Noise, and we were going to this venue called Mala's, which is actually where I first met Ski. He was one of the volunteers there, and I was some kid trying to buy beer, and it was our goal. Friendly, we were like, we gotta play Mala's. That was like the biggest thing we could possibly do.
Sure.
And we did eventually, and I was so nervous at that show that I forgot to take my backpack off before we played. Yeah. And about halfway through, our 15
What's
minute
with the
set.
backpack?
Yeah, right. I'm like, dang, should I take it off or should I just,
Actually, it probably looks pretty cool. I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, right. Maybe nobody knows.
You might have been pulling it off. I wasn't here yet. So,
Yeah.
It has that proletariat type feel to it.
Yeah.
I'm a working person with a backpack.
Well,
I'm gonna...
I was a high school student.
Right.
Yeah. That's actually what it was. And, from there, being in that band, meant just exposed me to, all the scene that was going on, punk scene stuff. And I just continued to write songs and play. A couple kind of abortive attempts later, we formed Frozen Teens. That was, for me at least, it it was the the songs that we were writing and making were sort of different from some of the aggression of the punk I've been playing before, and it was a way to sort of bring this, I guess, this like love of the tuneful and the melodic and the key change and the bridge, all this stuff I learned from loving the Beatles kind of into this punk context. After Frozen Teens, I've been doing Constant Insult for a number of years now, and just continuing to to write and things like that. So
Well, there's nothing I personally like more than melodic punk, from Candy Apple Grey, Husker Du type era to
Great album.
So I'm looking forward to this show a lot.
Yeah. I was gonna mention too that in that 2 years that I wasn't really playing when I first moved here.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with the Beatles, so that's the 2 years that I was absolutely like just cramming it into my head and really learning how to become a songwriter with those bridges and those key changes and all that stuff. So I think once we got together, it was kind of like, all right, this guy gets it.
yeah, we were driving over here and talking about the new Scorsese Beatles thing.
Beatles 64 that comes out on, I think it's on Disney this weekend.
Yeah, and we
after Thanksgiving.
we got lost because we were just talking about it and made a wrong turn.
Lost in our own fucking neighborhood.
Yeah.
We've claimed South Minneapolis pretty hard in the in our Frozen Teens days. So
Yep.
Yeah.
that's gonna make people
You knew
laugh.
you weren't too far off.
No.
Yeah, we weren't lost. We just weren't where we were supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew.
And so now you said your drummer still lives in Fargo, though, right?
Yeah,
So
he lived here for longer than both of us probably.
Okay.
But just recently moved back last year. He and I are both from there.
Okay. All right. So it's not like you're going to be doing weekly shows.
No,
as
no.
the Frozen Teens.
No, this is one and
This
one
is
and
it.
done.
One and
One
done.
only.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right in the camera. Oh, well, I'm very excited for this show coming up.
Us too.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And, did we mention your other bands? Your Lifestyle Shakes was a very fun punk outfit, and Constant Insult. Love that band. Love Katie.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So,
We should mention the other bands playing the show too.
well, Miracle Dead's
Miracle
playing
Dead.
with Katie.
Katie's other band.
Very excited.
Texture Freak,
Yep.
Making Out,
Yeah.
and Pleasure Cube.
Yeah.
So, even if we weren't playing,
It'd be a
it's
good
gonna be
Pretty
a great
solid show.
I'd be
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And that is the Eagles Club on New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
And is there advance tickets, or is it all at the door?
There are advance tickets. We did one pre-sale, which is sold out, but
Okay.
we'll be opening another one up on Friday, the day
Okay.
after Thanksgiving. So there should be more available end of the week.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And
All right.
hopefully a flyer for the show too.
All right.
Yeah, we got one of those.
I think with those two things we're gonna maybe coincide. So
Yeah.
Great.
releasing more tickets and putting the flyers up.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Looking
Yeah.
forward to
Great.
your performance.
We're fires, putting two and two together, getting five. I've been kicking at the tires, thinking I'm ready to drive. Full tank of gas, we're going out tonight. It ain't right, stay inside.
We're back, and it's time for everybody's favorite segment, the monthly topic. And we thought, what is a better topic for this month than club safety? Paul?
Well, and I think we think it's a good topic for the month because the world will need more safe spaces away from the fascists that obviously account for almost half of us.
We've got some really good spots, and I think in the Twin Cities, we're really lucky to have some really responsive clubs. First Avenue's staff is like top notch. I was at and I've seen this before. Like I've seen like stuff kind of unfold at different shows, but I don't think I've ever experienced it until like October, and I was at the Fine Line for a show, and like as soon as like somebody started bugging me, like staff swooped in and they were like, go out. I mean, it took probably like 5 minutes of some guy professing his love and touching me for them to be like, and you gotta go, goodbye. Like it was like remarkably quick. And I'm genuinely grateful for the training and the responsiveness that our venue staff in the Twin Cities have for that kind of thing. So I think, yes, I'm pro that. And yes, we are going to need that more and more so that, terribly empowered assholes aren't a thing in our spaces. And yeah, we got some good spots in the Twin Cities.
So I had a spot at the bar where I could see the list of all the people that have been 86 from Palmer's. And I checked with our erstwhile sound person who is not here tonight. And he confirmed that the 86 list is a legitimate list, that those people are banned from Palmer's, presumably. And you can tell the reasons, because bad behavior. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate a bar that is going to put that list up and let people know who are not welcome there because they're acting like jerks. Back to club safety.
Yes.
Paul,
I'd also
you go
like
to
to
a
see
lot.
more clubs be more forthcoming with what their safety measures are and just declaring themselves to be safe spaces for our friends in the community that need safe spaces. I mean, now more than ever. And I know, for instance, the Hook and Ladder, they have security that handles their security there. It's all feminist based. They intervene first without getting physical, but it creates a certain atmosphere that I think is welcoming for all people.
Hey, we got some clips coming up from a little band called The Suburbs.
The Shackletons,
And Diet Light.
How did we get these clips, Paul?
I have no idea, although they were my favorite shows of the month, so...
And when we come back, we're going to have an interview with Dante Leyva and Katie Drahos from the Twin Cities United Performers. Welcome back to Some Kind of Fun. We have Dante and Katie from Twin Cities United Performers with us. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. Hi, Katie Drahos. I'm a musician in a handful of bands around town and an organizer.
Hi, I'm Dante Leyva, also a musician and organizer around town, playing a handful of bands. You can't stick with just one.
No,
you
you
know?
can't.
You don't want to like play favorites, right?
No.
Exactly.
So I started following Twin Cities United performers on Instagram, and I think it's a neat thing. Why don't you tell us what that organization is about and how you got started?
Yeah, totally. So we actually got started around like a year and some change ago. It's our organizing efforts started when the First Ave workers decided to unionize, and we kind of ran a campaign alongside of their campaign. So we were like the artist arm of support. So we very quickly amassed a bunch of different artists to sign a letter of support, and then organize around like different actions and making sure that we were showing our support for the First Ave workers. And then from there, we were all like meeting a lot. There was a ton of really talented musicians. And then also inherently, we always talk about how musicians are organizers just by the way of what we do. And so we decided to just keep it going. So it morphed into Twin Cities United Performers, where we have spent the last year really diving deep into what it means to be a musician in Minnesota and what the goals are to make us Minnesota the best place to be a musician in the world and the universe.
That's right.
So I grew up like here in Minnesota, and my general outlook on music is the best music in the world starts in Minnesota because we got Prince, Husker Du replacements, and then that's the '80s, and then then the second best music is music from the United States, and then the third best kind of music is I guess the rest of the world.
I can get on board with that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I totally get that. So, but then I was reading the news recently, and there's this Minnesota music census found that we are one of the lowest paying music communities. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, it was very interesting. So that census was conducted by the city of Minneapolis earlier this spring. There's an Austin-based group that's been running music censuses across the country in various cities. And so when the results of the Minneapolis music census came out, we saw that, among other things, Minneapolis paid fewer dollars, just a lower amount of money per gig than other cities. And that was on average.
So did the report explain what the cause is, or do you have any idea of why we're so low paying here?
The report didn't really dig into the causes. Part of what the city was doing in their unveiling of the results was bringing music industry folks together to talk about why this could be and what solutions could be. Teacup has been talking about this for a while, even before the Minneapolis music census came out. I think that musicians have noted post-pandemic especially that gigs have just been paying less generally. And I don't even think this is a post-pandemic trend. You could talk to anyone who's playing music in the 90s and it would be obvious that ticket prices and payouts have been pretty consistent since then. So we've experienced, I think, wage stagnation on a greater level than most other industries.
Yeah. So so part of my day job is I work for the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry in the Labor Standards Division. And so we try to figure out to make sure that employers are paying minimum wage, that they're paying overtime. The specific area I work on is earn sick and safe time. But what goes into a gig in terms of the effort and then the money that comes out?
So that's alongside of, so the city came out with their report. We also did our own surveys as well. Theirs was in 2 weeks, I think?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
They took 2 or 3 weeks. We have been conducting surveys for a longer period of time, trying to get a bigger data pool for specifically this reason. And what we've been hearing, it's not just from our own personal experience, which is a valid data point, but what we've been hearing across the board in general is specifically that question that you're asking of what does it take to go into a gig? And those are the questions that we broke down and asked, how much does it cost for you for your practice space? How many hours of unpaid labor are you performing when you just go to a gig? So for example, if I'm playing a show at a venue around town, my set time might be at 8 o'clock, but my load in time is 4:30.
Right.
So I need to get to the venue around 4:30, set up, and then I am just chilling. I do my sound check, then I'm just chilling around. Then I play my set. So from 4:30 to 8, I'm there. So that should be paid time. And then if you want to get paid afterwards, you need to stay. And a lot of times shows aren't done until like midnight, 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So really, I'm like physically at the venue from 4:30 until like 2 in the morning. And I'm really only getting paid for that time that I'm on the stage. And that's like what the rate is going for. And depends on like, sometimes there's guarantees. Sometimes you're able to negotiate ahead of times. A lot of times it's ticket sales. A lot of times it's just out of your control in general. And then on top of that, a lot of times you have to pay for parking, depending on where you're playing. Our equipment just to perform in general costs money and time and effort. But just like the actual like getting to a gig, you're really like, sometimes you have to take work off early, like in one of those early load-in times. Like if I'm working until 5 or 6, I got to be there at 4. Then that means I'm losing money on my work side of things as well.
Right.
So there's a lot of like unpaid time that people don't really recognize that are actually going into being a performer and playing the gig. And it's like an expectation that you are doing those things. Like I can't tell the venue, actually, no, I'm not sound checking, or no, I'm not going to do that and pay me this. And then also like a lot of times the comp is for drinks, but like a lot of people that I play in bands with don't even drink. So that's not really valuable to them. Soda costs like $1. So like really, like it's really not the value for like, oh yeah, we're going to give you 2 drink tickets for the 5 million hours that you're hanging out here. It just doesn't really like comp as well.
I'm sort of new to this. So if you are playing at a venue that has food, will they provide food for you? Or is that...
It depends.
It depends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some places will give you like a voucher for 50% off.
Okay.
Most places don't give you anything for food. So if you like, again, you get there at 4 o'clock, then you need to eat something. So a lot of times if the venue has food, you're going to be paying into it. And a lot of times I'm like, I'm spending more money just like buying my dinner and buying drinks and then leaving with like maybe like $10 after everything. So yeah, it's frustrating.
So wages is the number. Is that would you say the top thing that Teacup is organizing around?
I would say in our year of organizing, we spent a year doing a lot of like Katie mentioned, surveys, talking to musicians about what people were feeling were the biggest issues in the local music industry. Poor pay or low wages was a number one, and a close second or tied for first was equitable treatment and respectful treatment by venues and bookers throughout the scene.
What is that? Paint a picture for me. What is that?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big range when we're talking about what is equitable treatment. I think if you talk to folks in the music scene who are non-white, who are not men, or who are queer and BIPOC, there's a pretty consistent story of finding difficulty in getting into these spaces, feeling like they're maybe shut out of certain bookings, or they're having trouble getting into clickier scenes. And then once you are booked, there's sometimes just not a great standard of professionalism. There will be venues who might not tell you exactly how much you're going to make until the day of the show. They'll tell you about an ambiguous expense fee that they'll have to take off the top that you won't know about until after you play. Venues might decide to withhold payment altogether if they feel like it. The industry has quite a power dynamic imbalance from my perspective between performers and venue owners. And what we're hoping to do is to create some infrastructure that might help correct that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, there's an event coming up on December 14th. Do you want to talk about that, please?
Yes. And on December 14th at Pillar Forum, we will be kicking off what we're calling the First Teacup campaign. And that is a 2-pronged approach to correcting some of the respect inequity, I guess we'll call it, in the music industry landscape. And I say that's 2-pronged because on one end, we want to educate artists in the local music scene about what their rights are as independent contractors. Actually, in the city of Minneapolis, we have some of the few independent contractor protections in the country. And something that I think we can do as Teacup is teach folks that you actually need a contract if you're going to be playing a show. The venue needs to tell you how much they're going to pay you, or how they're going to calculate that, and that you need to be paid in a timely manner. And that's according to the city law. There's also a certain, how do I put it? there's a way that you can approach booking that will get the venues to respond to you a little better. You know, you can ask for certain things, or you can present your yourself, your band in a way, we call it the show advance, that's going to make it easier on everybody to book you. So this first prong I'm calling like artist education, basically. We're going to equip people with the tools they need to advocate for themselves in this landscape. The second approach is, or the second prong of this approach is venue outreach. Because we've talked to venue owners, we know that it's not that there's like a big pot of money being withheld to us by the greedy owners of these bars. I certainly don't think that's the case. The music industry is tough. Bars are struggling post-pandemic. There's just simply not a ton of money in the music industry ecosystem. Something that we would like to do is, instead of being antagonistic and say, no, you need to pay us more, we don't care if you go out of business. That's not, we know that not only do music venues need musicians, but musicians need music venues. So we want to partner instead with music venues who are in alignment about these things with us. They say, yeah, we do think that you should be treated equitably. We think it's a good idea when musicians are better educated about this industry, because that means a smoother show for us. Mm-hmm. So the second prong, venue outreach, we want to partner with venues who will pledge with us to treat folks with respect, honor contracts, and work with us to solve some of the bigger problems around the lack of money in the ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think really starting with transparency, because a lot of things that we're talking about are like pretty big ideas of like, okay, we really want to like transform the scene so that everyone's making more money and it's good for both the venue and also for the artists. But I think that starts with just transparency in general. So like Dante was saying, like being able to give folks an artist and doing it in a widespread manner. So it's not just like a random person here is reaching out to this venue with an advance. It's like if all of us at the same time start with this standard, venues will start also being more apt to like be like, okay, everybody keeps sending me this email with this advance thing. Like nobody wants to book this show unless I fill out this advance thing. Maybe I should start doing it. And it's going to be a really easy process for everyone. And it's information that like they give us sparingly, and some venues do a really great job of already doing that, which so it's not like this is every single venue in town isn't like on their P's and Q's when it comes to specifically like an advance. But there are a handful, and like more than a handful of venues that it's like sometimes you'll get one depending on who's booking it. Sometimes this is happening. And really we're very data driven at Teacup. Like that's our main thing. It's the narrative is one thing and the people's stories are another thing, but we want to be able to quantify that in hard data of like where are the actual gaps so that we can start making movement in the places that make most sense. Whether that looks like coming up with some sort of legislation or going to the city and seeing like where are some places that we can maybe like pump the brakes on for the venues so that they can start putting more of their money into the artist and really bolstering Minneapolis as a city that's good to be an artist. And that really starts with transparency on like how these shows are being run, because that's another big factor that we found when it comes to pay inequity and just respect in general, is that there are some venues that will tell one person this is our cap for all shows, and then another person will go play there and it's like, I got paid way more than that, or they told me that this was actually the cap and it was way lower than what you were told. So if we just all like get on the same page in writing about like, okay, what's the advance, how does this work, what are you taking off the top here, what like how much am I expected, we can all go into our performances with more information and a better understanding of like how we're getting paid. So it might not start with everybody getting as much money as they think, but at least we're going into it knowing and making an executive decision of like, is this good for my band? Like, is this worth my time? If I have to spend X amount of hours, do I want to do this for this amount of money? Or should we like pass this time and like maybe somebody else, it might be worth more of their time to be able to do something like that. So we're just trying to like start with like, let's level the playing field for everybody, including the venues. So everyone can feel good about what they're doing when they're going and performing in this town.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you both. This has been one of my favorite interviews that I've been able to do.
Yay!
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
This is great. This is great work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Seriously. Check out Teacup on Instagram. Come to the Pillar Forum on December 14th.
Yep.
If you're a musician and you play a gig around town, fill out the venue report card post-forum survey. We really appreciate that data. And we're going to be publishing those results in early 2025. So keep an eye out for that.
Yep.
Front
And we're back, and it's time for everybody's favorite segment, upcoming shows. Claire, what are you looking forward to?
There's so much happening this next month. I'm so excited. The one that I'm looking forward to in particular is the Replacements Tribute Show that will be at the Turf Club again on December 13th. And my understanding is that tickets are going fast. So
There you go. Get your tickets.
get your tickets.
This year, I didn't mess around. I got a table.
Ooh.
Wow.
You mean it.
I mean it.
Yeah.
I'm not messing around this time.
Wow.
What about you, Paul?
I am messing around this time.
Okay.
I'll be standing up front like usual. December 6th, Faith Boblet and the Flamin' O's at the newly reopened Caboose. Come down and see the Caboose. It's just like it used to be. And then on December 12th at the Turf Club, the Silent Treatment, Moonbado, 99ers, and the Heavy Sixers are having an EP release. And that'll be a really fun show. Turf Club, December 12th. I think I covered that. Thank you.
Well, I've got two shows that I'm looking forward to in reverse order. On December 21st, it is Silver Teens Christmas. Always a good show featuring, obviously, the Silver Teens, Dragnet. Who else is going to be there, Mark?
Cindy Lawson.
Cindy Lawson. And this is what we need. We got Cindy Lawson, Dragnet, Silver Teens, and the Mofos, the Mighty Mofos.
And the Loose Rails.
And the Loose Rails.
Yeah.
That's a show.
That's a show.
big
That's a show and a half.
Get your money's
It
worth
is.
on that.
If
ticket.
there were two of them, there'd be three of them.
Yeah, that's right. There might be guest vocalists, too.
A couple
Claire?
of guest vocals.
I don't know.
Could be.
Maybe. We'll just have to see.
And then on December 7th at the Varsity, I'm going to Piss Fest featuring Vile and Dial Tone. They're local. And then Sorry Mommy and Destructo Disc. That's just great.
You seem very committed to the latter two bands.
Yeah, well, look, I'm there. Okay, so on December 7th, I'm going to be at the Varsity Theater. I'm going to see Vile. I'm going to see Dial Tones, local bands extraordinaire. Then Sorry Mommy and Destructo Disc are going to be there as well. And that's going to be a great show. I think there is going to be some drag performers there. It's going to be a whole big thing with Gene, and I recommend it.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a big
And
month.
playing us out is friend of the show, Christy Costello.